Terraform's biggest competitor just did something nobody saw coming. They're now running Terraform better than HashiCorp does.
Wait, Pulumi is actually supporting their rivals' code directly? Why would they help the competition?
Because they're not competing anymore. They're replacing them. And if you're managing infrastructure at scale, this changes every decision you'll make in the next 6 months.
Welcome to the Platform Engineering-Playbook Daily Podcast. Today's news and a deep dive to help you stay ahead in platform engineering.
Today we're diving into Pulumi adds native support for Terraform and HCL.
But first, let's cover today's top headlines.
There's a fascinating shift happening in the SRE world. According to the new stack, AI is transforming site reliability engineering from reactive firefighting to actually preventing failures before they happen.
That's a huge paradigm shift. How are they pulling this off?
It's all about leveraging structured incident data and integrated topology mapping. Instead of waiting for things to break and then scrambling to fix them, AI can now identify patterns and predict failures before they impact users.
Speaking of preventing failures, Cloudflare just made a major breakthrough with their SALT configuration management. They've completely redesigned their observability system.
Right. InfoQ reports they were dealing with massive configuration debugging challenges across their SALT stack deployment. The new system is dramatically reducing release delays.
Makes sense. When you're operating at Cloudflare's scale, even small configuration errors can cascade into major problems.
Now, here's a wild success story. RunPod just hit $120 million in annual recurring revenue, and it all started with a single Reddit post.
Wait, seriously? A Reddit post?
TechCrunch reports the founders bootstrapped to $1 million in revenue before a VC named Radhika Malik discovered them on Reddit and led a $20 million seed round. They're now one of the hottest AI app hosting platforms out there.
That's incredible, but not all infrastructure stories have happy endings. What's going on with CoreWeave?
They're facing a securities fraud lawsuit after infrastructure delays caused their stock to drop 16%. According to Newsfile, investors claimed they were misled about the company's ability to deliver on their infrastructure promises.
That's a stark reminder that in platform engineering, execution is everything. You can have all the funding in the world, but if you can't deliver the infrastructure...
Exactly. It shows how critical reliable platform engineering has become in the AI era. That covers today's headlines. Now let's get into our main story. So, Pulumi just dropped what might be the most strategic move we've seen in the infrastructure as code space since HashiCorp changed their license. They're adding native support for Terraform and HCL.
Wait, hold on. Pulumi, the company that's been evangelizing programming languages for infrastructure, they're now supporting HCL?
Not just supporting it, Alex, they're going full native. You can run HCL directly through the Pulumi engine, host your Terraform state in Pulumi Cloud, and here's the kicker, they're offering financial credits to help companies escape their HashiCorp contracts.
That's a complete 180 from their positioning, isn't it? I mean, their whole thing was use real programming languages, not domain-specific languages.
You'd think so, but Joe Duffy, their CEO, is framing this differently. He's saying they're not dogmatic about languages. They love all of them. And when you think about it, the timing here is fascinating. This announcement comes right when enterprises are still reeling from HashiCorp's licensing change and IBM acquisition.
So they're capitalizing on the chaos?
More like they're recognizing a market reality. Here's the thing. Most enterprises aren't running pure Pulumi or pure Terraform. They've got years of Terraform modules, maybe some CloudFormation templates, possibly some Pulumi code for newer projects. It's a mess of different tools and approaches.
Right, and migrating all that legacy HCL to TypeScript or Python would be a massive undertaking.
Exactly. And that's where this gets interesting. Instead of forcing a migration, Pulumi is saying, bring your HCL as is. They're not even converting it behind the scenes like their old TF2 Pulumi tool did. The Pulumi engine will interpret HCL directly.
But how does that work with their existing ecosystem? Can you mix HCL modules with Python components?
That's the brilliant part. They're enabling a true polyglot infrastructure. Your platform team could build complex reusable components in Go or Python, then expose them as simple HCL modules for application teams who just want to declare their infrastructure without learning a programming language.
Okay, but let's talk about the elephant in the room. Is this just opportunistic positioning because of HashiCorp's troubles?
There's definitely an element of that. The timing isn't coincidental. But think about what's happened in the last 18 months. HashiCorp went from open source darling to business source license. OpenTofu forked Terraform. IBM acquired HashiCorp. Enterprises are nervous.
And rightfully so. We've seen what happens when a critical infrastructure tool changes its licensing model.
Which brings us to Pulumi's other announcement. They're positioning Pulumi Cloud as a drop-in replacement for Terraform Cloud. Same state management, same workflows, but with their governance and that Neo AI assistant on top.
So they're not just supporting HCL, they're going after the entire Terraform ecosystem?
They're doing more than that. They're betting that the future of infrastructure as code isn't about picking one approach, it's about supporting all of them. And with this private beta launching now and general availability in Q1 2026, they're giving enterprises over a year to plan their escape route.
Coming up, we need to dig into exactly how they're pulling this off technically, because supporting HCL natively while maintaining compatibility with thousands of providers, that's not trivial.
So let's break down the technical implementation here. Pulumi is essentially building two distinct capabilities that work together.
Walk me through the first one, the state backend piece.
Right, so Pulumi Cloud can now act as a state backend for both Terraform and OpenTofu. This means you can point your existing Terraform configurations at Pulumi's backend instead of Terraform Cloud or S3. Your Terraform apply commands work exactly the same, but now your state is managed by Pulumi.
But why would I want that? What's the advantage over just using S3 with state locking?
Great question. First, you get Pulumi's visibility and governance features. Think audit logs, policy as code, RBAC. But more importantly, you get access to their AI assistant, Neo, which can now understand and help with your Terraform configurations.
Interesting. So it's not just storage, it's adding intelligence on top of the state.
Exactly. And here's where it gets clever. Once your state is in Pulumi Cloud, you have a migration path. You could gradually rewrite modules in TypeScript or Python, or you could keep everything in HCL. Your choice.
Okay, but the second capability, running HCL through the Pulumi engine, that seems way more complex.
It is. They're using what they call a Terraform bridge to access providers. Essentially, the Pulumi engine can now interpret HCL syntax and translate those resource declarations into the same internal representation it uses for TypeScript or Python code.
But Terraform has its own quirks, its own expression language, its own way of handling dependencies.
Right, and they've had to implement all of that. From what I understand, they're not just parsing HCL, they're implementing Terraform's entire evaluation model. Variable interpolation, conditional expressions, dynamic blocks, all of it.
That sounds like they're basically re-implementing Terraform.
In a way, yes, but with a crucial difference. It's all running through the Pulumi engine, which means you get Pulumi's benefits. Better parallelism, more detailed progress reporting, and critically, the ability to mix languages.
Oh, that's where the polyglot architecture comes in.
Exactly. Imagine this scenario. Your platform team builds a complex Kubernetes operator in Go using Pulumi. They expose it as a component resource. Now your application teams can consume that component from their HCL configurations, just like they'd use any other Terraform module.
So you're getting the best of both worlds, the power of real programming languages for complex logic, but the simplicity of declarative configuration for straightforward resources.
And this isn't some half-baked integration. HCL users get access to all of Pulumi's providers, over 150 clouds and SaaS platforms. Plus, any custom providers built with Pulumi's provider framework are automatically available to HCL users.
But what about compatibility? If I have a complex Terraform configuration with workspaces, remote state data sources, provisioners...
That's the million-dollar question. They're being careful about setting expectations. This is in private beta for a reason. Not every Terraform feature will be supported on day one. Provisioners, for example, are explicitly called out as not supported. And honestly, good riddance.
What about performance, running HCL through an additional abstraction layer?
From what they've shared, the performance should be comparable or better than native Terraform. The Pulumi engine has always been faster at computing large dependency graphs. Plus, they've optimized provider operations to run in parallel where possible.
I'm also thinking about the ecosystem implications. If Pulumi can run Terraform modules natively, does that mean the entire Terraform registry becomes available to Pulumi users?
In theory, yes. Any public Terraform module should work. Private module registries might need some configuration, but the goal is full compatibility.
This all sounds great, but I'm wondering about the business model. Are they charging for HCL support?
From what I can tell, HCL is just another language in their platform. Same pricing model, whether you're using TypeScript, Python, or HCL. But here's the clever bit. Remember that escape hatch program? If you're stuck in a HashiCorp contract, they'll credit the remaining value toward Pulumi usage.
So they're literally paying companies to switch.
It's a smart move. They're removing the biggest barrier to adoption, the sunk cost of existing contracts. Stick around, though, because we need to talk about what this actually means for platform teams and how to evaluate whether this makes sense for your organization. All right, let's get practical. If you're a platform engineer looking at this announcement, what should you actually do?
Yeah, because on one hand, this sounds like a great escape route from HashiCorp. On the other hand, are we just trading one vendor lock-in for another?
That's the key question. Here's my framework for thinking about this. First, assess your current Terraform investment. How many modules do you have? How complex are they? Are you using Terraform Cloud features heavily or just for state storage?
Right, because if you're just using S3 for state, this might be overkill.
Exactly. But if you're using Terraform Cloud's private registry, policy as code, run triggers, then Pulumi Cloud becomes more interesting. You're getting similar features, plus the ability to gradually adopt programming languages where they make sense.
What about teams that are already using Pulumi? Should they start writing HCL?
No, that's missing the point entirely. This isn't Pulumi saying HCL is better. This is them saying use the tool for the job. Keep using TypeScript for complex orchestration, but maybe use HCL for simple resource declarations that junior engineers need to modify.
So it's about meeting teams where they are.
Precisely. Here's a concrete example. Say you're building a platform for deploying microservices. Your platform team could build the core abstractions in Python, the networking layer, the security policies, the observability stack. Then you expose simple HCL modules that application teams use to deploy their services.
Oh, I like that. The platform team gets the power of a real programming language, but the consumers get the simplicity they're used to.
And here's another consideration. This could actually help with hiring. Not every infrastructure engineer wants to become a software developer. Some folks prefer declarative configuration. Now you can have both on your team.
But what about the risks? What if Pulumi changes their licensing model in a few years?
Fair concern. But Pulumi has been consistently open source since 2017. Their business model is built on the cloud service, not the core engine. Plus, with a native HCL support, your configurations remain portable. You could always switch back to Terraform or OpenTofu.
That's actually a good point. They're making it easier to leave, which paradoxically might make people more willing to try it.
Exactly. Now, if you're thinking about evaluating this, here's what I'd do. First, wait for the public beta. Don't bet production workloads on private beta software. Second, start small. Pick a non-critical project with both Terraform modules and needs for custom logic. See how the polyglot approach works in practice.
What about teams already using OpenTofu?
Great question. If you're happy with OpenTofu and not using Terraform Cloud features, stay put. This is more compelling for teams that need the enterprise features, policy as code, RBAC, audit logs, AI assistance.
Speaking of AI, should we trust Neo with our infrastructure?
Like any AI tool, use it for assistance, not autonomous operations. Neo can help write configurations, explain existing code, and suggest improvements. But you still need engineers who understand what's happening.
So, wrapping up, who should seriously consider this?
3 groups. First, enterprises nervous about HashiCorp's future under IBM. Second, teams wanting to modernize gradually without rewriting everything. Third, platform teams building internal developer platforms who need both power and simplicity.
And who should skip it?
Teams happy with pure Terraform and S3 state, small startups that can standardize on one approach, and anyone who philosophically opposes mixing paradigms, though I'd challenge them to reconsider.
You know what strikes me about all this? We're seeing the infrastructure as code space, mature. It's not about declaring one approach the winner anymore.
That's the real insight here. The future isn't Terraform versus Pulumi versus Crossplane. It's platforms that can orchestrate all of them. Because at the end of the day, infrastructure is too complex for one-size-fits-all solutions. Different problems need different tools, and the winning platforms will be the ones that embrace that reality. That's our show for today.
If you found this valuable, please subscribe and share with a friend who'd appreciate it.
Drop us a comment with your thoughts on today's topic.
Links to everything we discussed are in the show notes.
Until next time.